Hello, and welcome to my internship portfolio. My name is Carrie Kreger, and I am currently a kindergarten teacher at Harmony Hills Elementary School in Silver Spring, Maryland. We are a Title I school. 87% of our students receive free and reduced meals, and majority of our population is Hispanic, with over 47% receiving ESOL services. I have taught kindergarten there for 8 years, and I am currently team leader. As you know, I'm working towards my master's in educational technology through Loyola, and I've really enjoyed the internship I've had the past year and being able to work with two of my fellow classmates who also work at Harmony Hills to implement technology through various professional development opportunities in our school and other things I will showcase during this screencast. So first, this is my internship portfolio. In my internship portfolio, you will find my overview and artifacts from the internship, the process that we used in developing our plan, and what we did over our internship, my reflections on how things worked, what didn't work, and what we could improve on throughout the process. The key concepts that we mastered through our internship, online learning components that we used, and finally the presentation that I'm doing now. So first I'm going to go to my internship overview and artifacts. Here you will find that for our internship, we focused on supporting staff with developing and implementing technology in their classroom and planning. We implemented and shared a variety of tools and supports during the school year and facilitated professional development for our staff. So right here is our internship proposal, and that's what we used to kind of develop what we wanted to do, what our vision was, how we wanted to do it, and what we wanted to accomplish at our school with the use of technology. So our overall plan focused on introducing Google to staff, how to use Google Apps, how to use the Drive, how to share and access school documents and create their own, as well as using educational tools to create lessons and resources that they could use to enhance their teaching and learning. So if you click here, you'll find the internship proposal that we created. And then going back, you will see we also have our action plan. Now, our action plan is really what drove our whole internship. Now, this is something that we created and updated throughout our internship to really make sure that we were holding ourselves accountable, that we had a good vision, that our administration could see our vision and plan, and that we could ensure that we were giving the staff what they needed to enhance their teaching and learning through technology. So when I click on it, you will see that we outlined it through an action and date outline. So right here, you'll see the actions that we wanted to accomplish, the people that were involved, the dates we wanted to complete them by, and the assessment or task that we used to kind of ensure that we were taking the right steps in implementing those actions. And I'll talk more about this, but this really drove our entire internship in making sure that it was successful and that our staff was really getting what they needed through the professional development that we facilitated, our technology curriculum, our announcements, everything that we did, we used this plan to help facilitate it. So going back to my internship portfolio, you will see unacceptable use policy that we created that I will talk about further, some guidelines for using Chromebooks in the classroom, and some professional development, which again, I will talk further on as I get deeper into my portfolio. So first, let's talk about online learning components that we really used in our portfolio, in our internship. One thing that we noticed right off the bat was our principal really decided that she wanted our school to implement grade level websites and be able to attach those to our school website so that they could really be used at home. Parents could be updated on different things. They could see what the kids are learning in their classrooms. They could be updated about events and field trips and know how they can use technology in their home to enhance the learning that was going on in school. So our initial plan was to have a longer meeting session than we did. And time really was a factor in everything that we planned in our internship. A lot of times we had to adjust things because time just wasn't there. And that's something that we see over and over again in education, because there are so many things that are planned, meetings and professional development, especially being a Title I school. Our schedule was really jam-packed. So the day that we got in September that we got to show our presentation on Weebly, we showed a screencast to the whole staff at once, kind of outlining what Weebly was, how they can use it, so on and so forth. We also provided some examples of Weebly websites, including our own. Mine, Sean, and Ashley's were on here so that they really could see that we were here to support them and that we knew how to implement Weebly successfully, and things like that. So the session was cut really short. I think it was only like 10 minutes when we planned on doing 20 or so. So what we ended up doing was, after the screencast and after we opened it up for them to kind of explore a little bit, we shared this presentation school-wide. So they were able to go back and look at the screencast that we shared, go back and click on helpful examples and resources, and kind of look over some ways that they could use it in implementing their grade level website. And we were on hand anytime that they had any questions or needed support to, answer or guide them in how they could make better use of their websites. When they were done creating it, they would share it with us, and we gave it to the grade level webmasters, one of them being Ashley, who would add it to the whole school's website. Another thing that a piece of our online learning through professional development was, we created a pre-service Google form survey to kind of get to know where our staff was in terms of teaching and learning with technology, specifically through Google Apps and ed tech tools and just technology in general. Well, how are they feeling? What did they feel like they needed more of? So during pre-service, we were actually able to implement a professional development session, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And through there, each staff member was able to sign up for our Google Classroom, which surrounded Technology PD, that Ashley, Sean, and I created. And then we also analyzed the results to see where they were. And you can see from these results right here, we really found that they were all over the place with their skill sets using GAFE, also known as G Suite now. So we really needed to make sure that we were differentiating the professional development we provided to our staff so that they could gain more experience with Google Apps and really be able to implement it with their teaching and learning. So going back to my internship portfolio, I'm going to kind of skip ahead and talk a little bit more about the process. So as I said, we used our action plan to really guide our internship, everything that we did. It was really something that we found helpful, and it was really well organized and broke up the time well so that we knew we had to do this task by this time. This is what our next steps were, so that we could really make sure we were successful in implementing and facilitating technology through our school. So the first thing that we ended up doing in the summertime before the 2016-2017 school year was we met with our administration. We talked to them about our vision, what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, and they were really supportive through the whole thing. I'd say that was one of the greatest things about our internship, is that our administration really looked to us as technology leaders and coaches in our school and really provided us with support in whatever we wanted to do. Now, when we first met with them, we knew we wanted to do a pre-service week session of some sort. That worked out. We were able to implement that, which I will talk about again later. However, another one of our plans was we wanted to be able to implement a tech learning session in every single staff meeting, which is monthly. However, due to time restraints, we were not able to do that because time is just a factor, and there's so many things at a Title I school that are jam-packed in our meetings. So instead, we took on the task of doing a tech tip of the week, which I think is back on my online learning. So we worked together and kind of divided and conquered, and really focusing on what our staff needed, what they wanted in terms of tech tools, and what they could use easily at first to implement teaching and assessments in their classroom. So we would give a tech tip of the week, and instead, again, of this being in our meetings, we brainstormed with our admin and decided that we would share this tech tip of the week for the first few months in our staff bulletin. So we had a tech tip of the week spotlight where all of our different tech tips were showcased. This was really successful. However, the only issue is with anything, not all staff pays attention to or reads the staff bulletin. So they weren't necessarily getting the tutorials on how to use Symbaloo or the benefit of using Kahoot as an assessment tool in their classroom. And that's where I really wish more face-to-face learning could have happened. But again, we had various opportunities throughout the school year to kind of showcase different things rather than in just this tech tip of the week. So going back to my online learning, you'll also see that we had this technology PD classroom. And that's where we really housed a lot of our resources, and teachers were able to go back and look at things that we had taught them previously and different things like that. So I'm going to go into my key concepts now to really dive into what I feel like we mastered during our internship and kind of talk about the artifacts that we created that align with our internship and the key concepts. So the first key concept, 3.2, candidates will be able to demonstrate the ability to tackle challenging tasks. And we did this. A challenging task that we were provided was our administration really liked the idea of moving from broadcasting reading announcements over our PA system to they wanted to be able to have some kind of video broadcasting or live stream broadcasting into the classrooms. So we brainstormed. Our administration, our AP was like, I think I have a connection that we could get used equipment. However, with that, Sean, Ashley, and I sat down and we were like, okay, one, what is this equipment? He said it was older. How well does it work? And also, how are we going to figure out how to use this? There's not a professional development around it. It's older equipment. So we really had to think about what we wanted to do. And keep in mind, we're trying to be innovative with technology. So we thought back to one of our courses where we learned about multimedia in ET 620. And we learned a lot about the green screen and making videos and, how fun it can really and engaging it can be. So we decided that we wanted to get an iPad and we wanted to get the green screen equipment, use a Dewey Ink app that we learned about, and broadcast announcements that way. So then came another task of, okay, how do we get the funds that we need to be able to do this? So what we did was we wrote a grant. We applied for a grant and we got accepted so that we could get our green screen kit, the app Do Ink, our tripod, our lighting, and our brand new iPad. So when we got this materials, the school year had already started. I think it was like a month or two into the school year. So we moved our school from using the PA system, loudspeaker announcements that nobody paid attention to because nobody could hear it. They were long-winded and not engaging for our students, and half the time the teachers would miss what was being said. So we moved our school from that to streaming or broadcasting our video announcements. Now, then came the other task. How do we do this? We decided that we would use Google Classroom after bouncing back various ideas that didn't work because live streaming just wasn't an option with time and scheduling, and we didn't want to take away from the instructional time of students. So, this is an example of the TV studio, which was a whole nother task in itself. It was not a TV studio for a very long time. It was an office that was a mess. So that was another challenge we had to tackle. We had 2 monitors, which worked out very well. At first, we just had one monitor, and we realized, okay, for the kids really to see the script and be able to read it successfully, we needed 2 monitors so that since we had 2 students, they could each read their own screen. We also had this tripod that we got through the grant and our new iPad. We had a speaker amplifier so that their voices on the mic could be heard well. And we would type up scripts that would be provided on the screens. So here's an example of one of our videos.
The learning accommodations students, staff, and answers others took Billy.
So I'm going to stop right there. So we called it News on the Hill, kind of to, get excited about it, a new program, a new way of doing announcements. So we called it the News on the Hill, and we found different backgrounds. I mean, this is just a fun background that looked like a news room, and we had alternating students every week from different classrooms, and they would come in and read our scripts that we created every day during their lunchtime. And we would also showcase different things on our announcements. Like at the end of this one, if this loads, we have, there's me. We have a special guest named PBIS Pete. So we would also take the opportunity to showcase other staff members, get our staff excited, get our students excited about things such as PBIS, and being respectful, safe, and responsible in our school. So going back to this, this is an example of how we kind of gave out reminders and helped our staff sign up, because even though we'd place it several places, it's just one more thing, and we didn't want to make it one more thing. So we gave lots of reminders, gave out the code, also made sure that they knew that we were available anytime that they needed support or help from us. Now, to access this, you had to go on to Google Classroom, which we also provided a screencast for, and they were able to click on the announcements that we uploaded and broadcast them straight into their classroom on their Promethean board. And let's say I'm a staff development teacher or I'm a math content coach and I don't have my own classroom, I can watch it on my computer. Anybody could watch it from any computer system. So this was a challenge that we felt we overcame, and we did a lot with it. It was kind of we joked that it was our baby because we really took it so far, and we were really excited about what we did with it. The next key concept that we mastered during our internship was key concept 7.1. Candidates will be able to model and build a positive school and culture that supports the safe, healthy, ethical use of technology. So many times throughout our courses, digital citizenship came up. We're teaching 21st century learners. It's not like when I went to school. Technology is surrounding us at school, at home, everywhere. And we really want to make sure that we're setting up a safe and positive environment using that technology. when so many things can go wrong. So we wanted our school to be models of digital citizenship. And throughout one of our courses, ET 691, we had to kind of come up with a plan, and we realized our school didn't have an acceptable use policy, and nothing like that was in place. So we created our own acceptable use policy for our school that outlined guidelines of safe and acceptable use of the devices they were using in the internet. They had to take this home and sign it themselves, and then also get their parents to sign it. Now, this really helps not only encouraging this safe, responsible digital citizenship at school, but also within their home, because it is so important that parents understand that the kids need to use technology safely and responsibly, because there are opportunities for them to use it in ways that aren't responsible, and we want them to know how to do that and that it's important. Another thing that was suggested by our administration, because they would go into classrooms and see our Chromebook devices not being used the way that they wanted them to be used to enhance teaching and learning. So they talked to us, and we created a Chromebook expectation guidelines in the classroom. So this paper right here was given out to each teacher to kind of outline, what the expectations of use are, the guidelines, and what to do. This wasn't something when grades 3 through 5 have these one-to-one devices, or, in kindergarten is using their desktops or in the computer lab or whatever grade, we want them to know how to use them successfully. It's not just for playing games. This technology is a tool to enhance teaching and learning, to make it successful and engaging. So that's something we've really felt like we mastered, and we really supported the safe, healthy, ethical use of technology within our school. The next key concept I'm going to talk about that we mastered in our internship is key concept 10. Candidates will be able to create technology vision for a school. So again, I talked about this a little bit. We really sat down and thought about, okay, what do we want our technology vision for our school to be? What do we need? What does our staff need? And what's going to be most helpful and successful in enhancing the teaching and learning through technology? So as I discussed before, we created our action plan. And through our action plan and our meetings with administration and our different professional development sessions, our tech tips and online learning resources, we were really able to reflect on, where we had come, what we needed to improve on, and what our next steps were going to be. So through that process, I reflected using Google Slides. So after each kind of task and action we did in our internship, I went back and wrote about, what was successful, what wasn't successful, maybe what was a barrier, and how it went. So that was really key in helping us think about, okay, this is working, this isn't working, what do we need to do next? And in addition, something I talked about was the technology outbreak session we provided through pre-service week. We had created a Google Slides document that we were presenting. And we, from that survey, we realized, okay, our staff is kind of all over the place with technology. How can we best help them use Google Apps and really understand it and really be able to implement it within their classroom, in their planning, and being able to know even just how to get to the drive, or how to use Google Classroom, or what kind of ed tech tools could be used to enhance their learning. Because sometimes that becomes one more thing that teachers don't want to look up on their own. So during pre-service week, an option for a breakout session was technology. And we had a really good turnout throughout the week at all our sessions. Now, a benefit of having 3 of us do this internship, Sean, Ashley, and I, is that we were able to differentiate this session into 3 groups. So within the lab, we had broken them up into beginners, which I led, intermediate, which Ashley led, and expert. Now, beginners just focused on people that needed help finding Drive, didn't even know they had an MCPS Google account, needed a little extra guidance in what Google Apps even were, just the basic things. And that really showed me the kind of learning deficit that was in our school, that I found a lot of the support staff didn't have knowledge because they weren't provided those professional development opportunities in the past. So it was really helpful for them to be able to be a part of this session and kind of learn more and dig into the basics. Within the intermediate session, Ashley would teach them about accessing, creating docs in Drive, what the apps were, how they can support students in technology use, and kind of get more into the Google Classroom, how to create it, what it is, and that sort of thing. And then from there, Sean took on the expert role in our professional development, highlighting different tech tools and resources that could be implemented in their classrooms. So we had a video, we had different resources they could click on, and we were there to support them throughout the way. So after the first initial two, this is where the intermediate begins, and they're talking about, some people don't even know that we have a Google Shared at school. So it's really important that they know how to access a staff shared, how to save documents, how to create folders, and things like that. We also went into talking about the importance of making a copy and not moving things around, because it's something that somebody created in that drive, and if you move it, it's not going to be accessible anymore in the folder. So we really highlighted what was important and the things that they needed to know to be most successful in sharing and creating documents and being collaborative, because that's our main goal, is making our lives easier through using technology and enhancing the teaching and learning. So we literally went over every single slide with them, and then they got to kind of explore on their own, and we would be around to support where needed. And this kind of overviews the apps that we talked about. And it was really surprising when I got to walk around and support after my group was done, what teachers didn't have knowledge of, such as Google Drawing or Google Forms or even Google Slides, and how collaborative and helpful they can be in teaching and learning in your classroom. As I said, Ashley and Sean and I helped them set up their Google Classroom. If they hadn't taken their pre-service staff survey, they took that. And then we got more into tech tools. And this was really great for people that felt like they were experts in Google Apps, because then they can really start implementing their tools in their classroom to enhance their learning. So we talked about Blend Space, we talked about Symbaloo, which we got a lot of interest around, because it is so helpful for organizing different sites, especially for younger grades and centers, and not having them have to navigate everywhere. We talked about Plickers, Voki, Kahoot, which is such a great assessment tool that our school loves to use now, Padlet, again, making sure they took our survey and joined our classroom. So that was such a successful breakout session, and we really felt like we were able to create a vision for our school and provide professional development where needed. And then we shared that session with them so that they could go back on their own time and be like, okay, I forgot how to do this, and look it up easily in our organized slide share. So going on to the next key concept, I feel we mastered 17.1, which is information literacy. Candidates will be able to understand concepts of informational literacy and apply those to help students and educators improve their information literacy skills on the path to becoming dialectical readers. This is something that we were so excited about that we created along with our announcements. All three of us were a part of our STEAM committee. And one of our driving forces this year that we have always talked about in the past but never got to was technology. So we really took it upon ourselves to make sure that our committee discuss technology and how we can better implement it and what skills our students need. We got into the topic of testing and how it's a barrier for some of our students that don't know how to navigate correctly or use the mouse or click and drag and those kinds of basic skills, and then we built them from there. So we found the Common Core standards that we adopted in the scope and sequence for elementary school students. And what we did was we aligned the ISTE standards and we created a website. So this was our technology curriculum website for Harmony Hills. And the first part of it was we wanted to share what the scope and sequence looked like with the committee, what kind of skills we were working on, what objectives they matched. And from there, each grade level had a different tab that they could work on to break out in separate groups during our SEAM committee and add helpful resources and activities that matched those skills that we wanted to introduce and hone in on with our classes. And even though one activity was for kindergarten, there might be a student in fourth grade that needs to go back here and look at these basic categories and skills. So it was really helpful that we created a website that all could access, where each grade level is laid out, each learning objective under the standards and activities. So for instance, I'm a kindergarten teacher. With the help of our media specialist and our kindergarten teachers, we really honed in on these basic skills: turning on the computer, turning off the computer, logging in. These are some skills that to us are so easy, but to young learners, they really need some extra learning that we don't have built into our curriculum. So for younger grades, to be able to implement this, we planned on going to the computer lab once a week to, teach a different lesson and topic according to our students' needs. For third, fourth, and fifth grade, they have one-on-one devices such as Chromebooks in their classroom. So this could really be implemented into independent learning time centers, one of the tasks or lessons that you want your students to complete. So this website, after we tried it out ourselves as committee members, we brought back feedback and we really hyped it up and shared it with our school, and it was really well perceived. They loved using it, and we plan on continuing using the technology curriculum and updating it through the next year. And this is just a document that outlines what it is, why it's important, and how we use the Common Core state standards and scope and sequence to develop it. Our next key concept that we mastered is 18.2. Candidates will be able to locate funding opportunities to enhance technology resources. Again, as I said earlier, we were so excited about the announcement. And we had learned in previous courses how to write a grant. And we were really excited when we, thought about, okay, how can we get these funds needed? And what can we do? And we wrote to apply for this grant, and we got almost $900 for it to buy the iPad. Here's kind of an outline of the equipment. We needed the iPad, we needed the green screen app by Do Ink, we needed lighting and the backdrop, and we also needed a tripod. So all of that came up to about $837. So we were so excited when we found out that, okay, we got this grant, we're ready. We got the tools shortly thereafter, and we were able to set up and implement our technology and enhance our announcements because of that grant that we applied for. So as you see here, and I showed you an example earlier, this is an example of one of our morning announcements. This is an example of the script that we would use and edit every day. We would take turns depending on who was facilitating the announcements that day. This is a sign up that we shared with the teachers, and so that we could keep track of who was doing the announcements, so that we could really get more students involved. In addition, I talked a little bit about earlier, we had different spotlights in our announcements, which was really awesome. We got a lot of feedback and interest from teachers. On Mondays, we had mindfulness Monday tips from the counselors. We had a Black History Month spotlight. During Black History Month, we had Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday, where our PE teachers would be goofy and lead a silly morning exercise to kind of start our learning off for the day. We also had Teaching English Tuesdays with our ESOL teacher. We had Taking Care of the Earth Thursdays, just a lot of excitement around the announcements and what we could do with it. So without getting the funding and that grant, we wouldn't have been able to use our green screen and create these videos for our students to be more engaged in the announcements. And then also from there, the second graders were able to use a TV studio with the music media specialist, use the iPad, the green screen, all the tools to create live debates about the zoo and zoo animals. So this was just really something that was special to us, being able to get that funding opportunity and enhance our announcements through technology. So thank you so much for taking the time to view my presentation on my internship. I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.